not know the future, but I know what I need. I need a friend to help me through, 'cause I can't cope. And I'm sorry for the trouble, but I've made you my final hope. My heart is a factory, the workers all on strike. It was a violent rebellion, the foreman's head on a pike. I've tried to stay calm, I've tried to be statesmanlike, but I've needed to tell you what this is all been like. I hear the bad times on the way like a stampede. I may not know the future, but I know what I need. I need a friend to help me through, 'cause I can't cope. And I'm sorry for the trouble, but I've made you my final hope. Now there's a hot black highway as far out as I can see. Endless freeway into infinity. And I'm leaning into my newfound addiction to speed. Because you were my friend when I was a friend in need. I hear the bad times on the way like a stampede. Yeah, I may not know the future, but I know what I need. I need a friend to help me through, 'cause I can't cope. And I'm sorry for the trouble, but I've made you my final hope.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the podcast. It's another episode where it's just me by myself. Well, me and the cat. She'll probably make herself known before too long. This month, I have mostly taken time off from performing. I mean, I still played shows, and I still hosted my weekly events, my open mic, and my open mic is every Tuesday at 6 p.m. at Gross and Bart Brewing here in Longmont. And then on Thursdays at 6 p.m. I do the 3-chair jam at Longmont Public House. So those are my 2 weekly things. And I'm still doing those, but I've mostly taken time off from actual gigs to write a book. And I talked about it in the last podcast very briefly, kind of, but I got so distracted with a million other topics, as I often do when there's no guest on the show. Sometimes I just ramble, but from my heart, you know. I'm sitting in my living room. It is an overcast day in Longmont, and I am quite pleased to be here. I've been writing on this book all month. We're kind of like halfway through the month now, maybe a little more. And I've written 7 chapters of this book. And I think I'm sitting probably around, I don't know, maybe like 14,000 words. Not a huge tome yet, but I'm making steady progress. And I'm just having such a wonderful experience working with these characters. My book it's a fiction book. It's a fiction fantasy novel. It's sort of my version of an Alice in Wonderland kind of story. A lot of psychedelic imagery, a lot of mystical topics. My last book was about art philosophy from my perspective, and it was an autobiographical art philosophy book, and told my story and what I think I'm fucking doing in the arts, and how I think about it. And I still love that book. I'm so happy that that's out in the world, and fairly regularly I'll have people talk to me about that book. And that book came out back in, I think, 2014, maybe. So it's about to be 5 years old. Wow! Jesus Christ. It went so fast. So I still get people coming up and talk to me about that book. And this book I'm working on now is a sequel, essentially. If I were to write a direct sequel to my last book was called New Reason, New Way, How My Skepticism Changed My Art. It's available online, of course, ebook form. Or if you're really cool and you want to get a physical copy, you can only get them from me at this point. So this next book is delving more into ideas like religion and politics, and mysticism and death. Those are the topics I really wanted to address in a book, and I didn't want to use my own life to talk about those things. You know, it doesn't. I don't want to use my shit as an example. You know what I mean? So I've been sort of, I've had this idea 8 years ago for this book, or more, maybe more like 9 years ago now. Oh my God, so long ago. And I didn't do it back then. I didn't write the book because I didn't have the time, but also books aren't just worth a whole lot of money, and especially fiction books, you know. I just couldn't afford to put this project any higher on my priority list, essentially. And the guy who thought of the idea for the book, me, all those years ago, there's been a whole cellular regeneration that's happened since then. And technically, the guy that had the idea for this book sort of dissolved away over time and never saw his dream come into fruition. He saw a lot of his other dreams come to fruition, and he didn't have to see other things fall apart. So he got a fine deal out of the world. But now I feel like it's just me living at this house by myself. Got a divorce last year. I think I've talked about that on this show before. And my cousin moved in for 6 months to sort of help me get my feet under, you know. And now he's moved on, and I'm here at the house by myself, and there's nobody here to talk me out of projects that aren't worth any money, except the cat. But she doesn't speak English. And I don't really know what she's trying to tell me. I always just assume she's being very polite. And is it rude to take long weed hits during the podcast? Is that rude? I'm not sure. I don't think so. Not on this show. So I'm in the midst of writing this book. That's really what I want to talk about in this show. I've never written a fiction book before. I've written some short stories. if you like, you can hear me read some short stories that I wrote. I think there are 2 short stories. That sounds right. On my album, Dark Places, back in 2008, when I was a whiskey addict in Texas, staying up late, playing gigs, and just staying up all night like a fucking vampire every night. If you want to, you can look that up there. It's on Spotify and all that. But I did voice acting for that. Instead of just reading the story, I decided to put myself into it. As I do with my art projects, I fully committed. And as usually happens, after the fact, I'm a little embarrassed about how deep I went. So I'm a little bit embarrassed of those recordings because, I don't know, it's so outside of what I usually do, and I don't know. I don't have a lot of acting experience. But I did write those short stories, and I really enjoyed them. One of them was about an elderly couple watching TV, and then another is called The Abernathy's. And then I wrote another book another short story in that same collection called The Surgeons of Shadow, and it was about these 2 demons who abducted Jesus's body off of the cross before he technically died, and rushed him away and tried to keep him alive so that he wouldn't fulfill his destiny of dying for all the Christians' sins. Of course, it doesn't matter if Jesus was ever real or if Christianity is true. The story is still a lot of fun. And it's basically a story about these 2 demons that are like elbow deep in the guts of Christ, trying to prevent him from dying. Funny. It's a funny story, I think. Dark and serious, but the way it's told makes me laugh. And this new book I'm writing now is actually very violent as well. There's a lot of blood and guts and, that kind of thing in this story. There ends up being some sexual content in this story. I almost don't want to tell too much of the premise, because I know some folks really don't want to know that stuff before they read it. And I don't want to, I guess I'm not ready to give spoilers. But it's this very psychedelic story. It's very fantasy driven. And boy, it's one of the more violent things I've ever written. I use violence a lot in my stories, in my songs. I've always really enjoyed writing story songs, and usually when I'm writing a story song, people die in the song. If you ever find that you're a character in one of my songs, you should really live it up, because you probably got 3 to 5 minutes to live, I think that's true, but we all die, friend. And that's part of my story too. It's about the inevitability of death, and coming to terms with that. It reminds me of a poem by Erica Young. It's called "The Buddha in the Womb." I can't recite the whole piece. Oh man, I can bring you a little bit here. At the end, it says, "There's a light in my skull, and a light in his." Talking about a little baby in the womb. We meditate on our bones only, to let them blow away with fewer regrets. And the final line is really what I was thinking of. Says, "Flesh is merely a lesson. We learn it and pass on." And I really like that idea. I don't believe in an afterlife, but I do believe that the death process is mystical and beautiful and overlooked by society. The beauty of death, the chemistry that seems to happen when people die, and as I understand it, boy, and you must know if you listen to this show that I'm not a doctor and I know very little about this stuff, but I am trying to learn about it and kind of the chemistry that happens in someone's brain when they die. And one thing that seems pretty agreed upon is your pineal gland. When you die, you go and your brain goes into shock. So let's say you're on your deathbed, and you believe that when you die you're going to go to heaven. Okay. Well, your brain will go into shock toward the end of your life, and in those last moments, and apparently your pineal gland just squeezes like a fucking sponge and releases all of the DMT that it stores into your brain, coating you in your brain with what I believe is the most psychedelic compound known to man. In other words, in those last moments, you're going to trip your fucking balls off. There's a real good chance that that's what's going to happen. People think, and what happens when the DMT gets dumped into your brain, if you've ever tried a psychedelic, what happens is time becomes a little more fluid, maybe slowing down or speeding up, mostly slowing down. So when your brain's in shock, of course, it'll be full of adrenaline. And what I think I've read and what sounds right is that your perception of your experience slows down immensely. You have the hardest psychedelic experience that a brain can have. And when people talk about a tunnel of light, a tunnel of light, they'll say, oh, I went down a tunnel of light and I went to a place. But what that really may be is your cornea's dying. And as your corneas kind of fucking turn off, you get that tunnel vision of like an old TV turning off or something. And that experience plus your psychedelic mind state probably does look exactly like the craziest tunnel you've ever seen. And that's really interesting to me. Because people have died and come back to life, right? And a lot of them say that they had experiences during that time. And what I'm finding is a lot of studies and such that say that, yeah, you totally went somewhere else. Maybe not in a real sense, but you tripped your fucking balls off. And wherever that place is that people go when I haven't never smoked DMT, but when people tell me about it, they say, I left my body, I left this reality. And I believe it's all brain chemistry, but not insignificant experience. That's something to be taken seriously, I think. Maybe I'm just an idiot, but that shit seems worthy to me, worthy of taken seriously. So I'm writing a lot about death at this point, and I've had to deal with death a little bit this year, and fear of death last year. I had a health scare at the end of last year. It technically still continuing, but that really put me in a place where I was forced to think about my life in a different way. And I had to consider the idea that I might die, or I might be seriously ill, rather. But that was all just fears projecting into the future. I was in danger of losing my life kind of in July of 2017. I got really depressed during my divorce situation as my marriage crumbled and all this. I felt so crushed and shamed by the experience and taken advantage of and heartbroken. Dot, dot, dot. And I really got to a dark place. I almost killed myself last July. And I don't say that lightly. It was a real danger. And one of my close friends had to sort of straighten me out. And I was lucky to have a friend like that available. I have lots of friends that could have filled that role if I had just opened up about it. But I only opened up about it to this one friend, really. And he saved my life. Let me just pull over the car for a second. If you are in a position where you're starting to feel dark like that, or hopeless, alone, those are the things I was feeling. Hopeless, alone, defeated, ruined. Those are the kind of things I was feeling. And those things were all true. Those were all valid emotions to carry, but they got heavy altogether, Being sad is okay, but being depressed is a whole different thing, If you find that you're in a situation like that, boy, reach out to a friend. If you have friends, reach out to them. God damn it. Your friends probably love you, and they would love to help you out. Hey, if you don't have friends that you want to turn to, shoot me an email. Find me on Facebook or Instagram at Ando the Artist. Hit me up there. I'm happy to talk to anybody that wants to talk. And especially if you're feeling dark and lonesome, friend, I don't want you to have to feel that way. And I'm willing to be a person that will talk to you and hang out a little bit here if you need. If you don't have somebody else in your life you're comfortable with, reach out to me, friend. I've been through that. And I want to pass along the gift that my friend gave me of listening to me and thereby really saving my life. I want to pass that along if I can. So reach out to me, friend, if you need. Meanwhile, I'm in a much better place now. Now that I have more control over my day-to-day, my reality, and now that I get a lot of my own medicine now. I get a lot of my own presence, and I'm not, how do you say this? I'm under my own influence a lot now. And the more I am, the happier and more balanced I feel. And boy, I tell you, I'm living by myself right now, and I don't think I would have been able to do that a year ago. I think it would have been too dark. But now that I've balanced out, my cousin came, and he's a great guy and was very kind to me. Let me walk over here and turn off this oven. He was very kind to me and really was there when I needed him. He's a great man. And now that I've been in that situation and things are... Ooh, that potato's not done. I put this monster of a potato in here and now I'm feeling a little lost about it. I'm going to give you another 15 minutes. What's going to happen? All right. This is why I don't host a cooking show. I'm struggling with baked potato. That's okay. Reciting poetry, that I can do. Heat a potato within some tinfoil, it's beyond me, apparently. Anyway, oh my God. I'm the worst meandering podcaster. But I will say this, I'm one of this town's longest running podcasters. No. I am the longest running podcast in this town. I did 4 years of the Prairie Scholars podcast, and I've done a full year of this podcast, and I'm loving it. I only want to do more. If you have things that you like about this show, please hit me up and let me know. I can't believe how many people are listening to this show, especially on YouTube. so strange. I don't know where you people are coming from. There are thousands of people listening to these, and I can't point at them within my community. Maybe a few hundred, around here that I think would definitely listen, but not this many. So I feel a little lost about that as well. That's as mysterious to me as the baked potato. But I'm so grateful that you're listening. Back to the book thing. I've really enjoyed writing this book. I have the whole story plotted out, and I know what's going to happen mostly within the book. But one practice I've taken on is, as I work through the story and I arrive at each different plot point, now that I'm getting to know my characters in a new way, because I'm really spending time with them and trying to think from their perspective before they speak, and trying to imagine being the person in these situations, I'm finding that my characters interact with each other in ways that I didn't predict, and they're making little choices that I didn't predict either. Which is really a strain, because these are all imaginary people, right? I'm surprised by the imaginary people. My main character's name is Danny Beamer. And I'm following him around in this story, and well, that little slip there shows how I'm thinking about it. I'm not really being the person. I'm sort of following them around the story, trying to notate what they're doing in each scene. It's been really fun to sort of let go of the control part of writing the novel. Now that I have the roadmap laid out, I'm just letting the road trip happen, and it's been really fun to get to know this character. I'm going to put him in a lot of weird circumstances in this story, and that's one of the things that's driving me forward. Is I'm curious what that character will do once I drop him into these stories. And I've been really inspired by my own life lately. I'm going to send my character on a date, and I'm going to model it after a date that I recently went on. I met a lady down at the Laughing Goat in Boulder about 3 weeks ago. Well, 3 weeks ago yesterday. And when I walked in, there was this big party happening in the back. It was like some kind of Latin music and a bunch of people in like colorful garb and singing in Spanish and dancing around and stuff. It was a scene. And I walked in there, and I'm supposed to be meeting this lady, and I'm supposed to try and stay visible in the front of the venue so that she'll, not think I fucking stood her up. But I just was so drawn to this scene because it was so alien to me. I don't speak Spanish very well. That's a pretty generous way to put it. I don't speak Spanish very well, or at all. So I kind of like started sneaking back toward this party, and while still trying to stay visible from the front of the space, I kind of got back there. I'm sipping on a beer, and a lady comes up to me, a young lady. She must have been, 22. I don't know. And she comes up to me and is like, "You want to dance?" Right? And I don't dance. I'm not really... I've never really been much of a dancer. Mostly just self-conscious, or, don't feel like I know how, or, I don't know, embarrassed somehow. I don't know. Fear response to dancing. Which is ridiculous. Who's afraid of dancing? I am. So I said yes immediately, because I was in that mode anyway. And who's going to say no when a pretty lady comes up and says, "You want to dance?" And it's like, fuck yeah, I want to dance, Not that I know how, but she took my hand and I walked back there with all the other folks, and I started dancing with this lady. And I guess, I didn't know what I was doing, but you know what I thought of when I was trying. I was trying to think like, okay, what kind of dancing fits my character? Who I am. What kind of dancing expresses me? Because that's what we're doing here. Dancing is an art form, and so if you're not expressing yourself, I don't know, maybe you're doing it wrong. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I felt like I just kind of rifled through my memory for like things that I liked that I've ever seen. Dancing. I like disco, but mostly I was thinking about. And maybe this is not the best timely reference, but the Cosby Show. Remember the Cosby Show back when, like, in the beginning of the show, each character comes out and they kind of do a little dance to the theme song. And they're not really doing, I don't know, the fucking foxtrot or the Macarena or what the fuck ever. They're just kind of like enacting who they are rhythmically, and you just kind of, in that first montage or whatever, the opening credits of the Cosby Show, you'd see the characters and they're dancing or whatever, but really you're learning about who they are. And that's what I was thinking about. And so I just started dancing, kind of just showing who I am. A benign idiot, So I just kind of let Ando take control and gave him the fucking driver's seat. Because, like, once the date arrives, Andy Eppler needs to be the guy that she meets. But Ando could be set free on the dance floor, So, started dancing with this lady, and the song ends, and everybody clapping, And she leans into me, and she goes, where did you learn to samba? You're good. And I said, I don't know. I never did learn. And she goes, oh, you just got it, huh? And I was like, yeah, I guess so, That made me feel really good, And I hope, maybe she was just lying, trying to be polite. But she made me feel like I was doing a good job with the fucking samba. And that would have not been how I would have predicted that scenario to go. So, whatever, I dance another song with her, and I'm kind of like looking over my shoulder to see if this other lady shows up. And so that song ends, and I kind of like, exchange pleasantries, and I bomb off back to waiting for this date. And then after a little while, the lady shows up, and she's gorgeous, and I'm a little overwhelmed, and we just have this whole thing. And I'm still seeing her, matter of fact. She's a great lady. But that date situation that happened to me, I found it very meaningful. And I'm going to put my character in that situation. And I'm going to have him go on a date, after that. And I'm going to take his shit in a different direction or whatever. It's not going to be like, my shit turned out great. A great date, great experience and all this. I'm not going to let my character have the same thing. Danny doesn't get the same date I got, but it's going to kind of have a similar inspiration. And that's kind of fun. Building in a life experience that I had, that's been really fun. I've done that a little bit to him. I gave him a cat to live with, my cat's name is Tifa, Tifa, and Tifa Lockhart is the character she's named after. She's named after a video game character from the 90s. If you know what game Tifa Lockhart is from, I probably love you. But I named Danny's cat Tina. It's just a little one step to the side, And Danny is not that far from Andy anyway. If you just rearrange the letters in Andy, you get Danny. You got to throw an extra N in there, but it's there. And so I'm sort of modeling that character after myself a little bit, but I definitely modeled his cat character after my cat exactly. And that's kind of a little homage to my little roommate here. You know, she's a good girl. Yeah, you're a good girl, ain't you? So I'm just really, I have a rock hard erection about this book right now, and I'm just loving it. I'm enjoying every second of making it, and boy, thanks for listening to me prattle on about it for fucking 30 some odd minutes here. When I sat down, I was like, I wonder if I'll be able to just talk about this experience like for a while. Fuck yeah, I can. I'm very deeply moved by this whole thing. I'm writing a fucking fiction novel. I can't believe it, you know? And boy, this is just one of the weird things that I'm getting into. I don't want to even tell you the other stuff that is down the pipe here because God damn it, I just did 30 minutes on one project. Yeah, so please stay tuned. That novel is going to be real. I think it's going to be worth your time. I think it's going to be really, for me, in my story and my legacy, such as it is, it's going to be a really important part of that. If I had it my way, this book would be one of the main pieces of art from my story, from my life. This book, it's deeply meaningful to me. I've been cooking it longer than I've ever cooked a project. It's gonna cost me a lot. I'm gonna have to approach it a new way when I get done with it. I'm still not sure what I'm gonna do publishing wise. I might self-publish again. That went really well. Or I might look for a publishing partner. I'm not sure. But this is a book I really, boy, I've wanted this for so long. And I denied and postponed and procrastinated. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish the whole thing, in the next few weeks. I don't know. But I've made such incredible progress. I am stunned. I can't believe I'm sitting as far in as I am. And I can't believe, I can believe this. It's all clicking together, You never really know if a project is going to go until it either goes or doesn't go. I'm finding that I've planned well for this. And, oh boy, thank you for listening to this. Me just talk about my crush on my latest project, Thank you for listening. I'll return with a proper guest soon. I'm not sure which of these kinds of episodes you guys prefer, but I'm just knocking them out anytime I can. I have a lot to say by myself, obviously, so I don't know. Let me know, or if you know somebody you'd like to have me interview, reach out. I'd love to do it. Thank you.